Zelda is hugely important to me. I'm pretty sure my earliest memory is of watching somebody just get decked on Death Mountain by a fucking boulder. The Zelda franchise has been with me throughout my entire life and has always been hugely impactful to me. It has inspired me in so many ways, I don't even think I could try to list them. The point is that it has been a little while since Tears of the Kingdom released, and now I'm starting to see an interesting reaction to the game. You see, if you've been in the fandom for as long as I have, you know that Zelda fans tend to be a little entitled sometimes. You see, the entire franchise is held under such prestige. Like, the lowest rated games in the franchise are still like nearly 10s ratings-wise. With a franchise like this, people tend to kinda find things to complain about. The Zelda franchise has a long history of just absolutely terrible discourse, and I want to talk about it because it's really relevant to today. Many moons ago, in the 2000s, Nintendo was unveiling their GameCube and what it could do. Space World. This is where they showed off a demo of what looked to be a sequel to Majora's Mask, something that more closely resembled an Ocarina of Time 2 than Majora's Mask ever could. It was a fight scene between Link and Ganondorf, and it was dark, tense, and for the time, very realistic. This, of course, drummed up a lot of excitement, a dark, new Zelda game, one that looked like nothing else on the market. If you're familiar at all with this story, then you know what happens next. But if you're not, it was a tech demo, meaning that it's not real. It's just like a showcase, like what the GameCube could do if you wanted it to. This isn't the last time they do this, and it's pretty cruel. If you're gonna do a tech demo, why not just have like some cars or something? This genuinely isn't the last time that they do this. Does anyone remember the fucking Wii U demo? That, let's all be honest, looked like shit. But my god, did it get people excited. So you can imagine the reaction when Wind Waker came out. It got a lot of criticism for being cartoonish, for being childish, for not being what people wanted. This is despite the fact that Wind Waker is one of the best and most emotionally resonant games in the franchise. It is so creative, and is also an homage to old anime that the creators loved. It has so many thought-provoking elements, and just a completely unique story for the franchise. And, of course, truly captures that sense of adventure. It's good. Wind Waker, for me, I give that a tinkle out of 10. Don't look into what that means. However, the reaction was, as I said, pretty volatile. And it meant that when eventually Twilight Princess released, it caused a bit of an interesting reaction. The Twilight Princess announcement was a pretty electric moment. There was so much excitement. It was exactly what fans wanted. They were finally getting the Zelda game of their dreams. The game was dark. It was more realistic. It pushed the GameCube to its limits. And therefore, upon release, it got a lot of praise, as it was the thing that people wanted. Unlike that stupid Wind Waker with all its cool stuff that I hate. Because I am very immature and I can't understand art as being adult if it isn't very visually adult. Anything with like a fun and creative art style, that's for children. However, as time moved on, the reaction to Twilight Princess changed slightly. It seemed as though people kinda soured on the game a little. Over time, we had people criticizing it, saying that it was nothing more than an Ocarina of Time 2. That unlike Wind Waker, for example, the game isn't creative and doesn't innovate on the formula enough. All it did was make you a furry. It's just Ocarina of Time, but for furries, and also emos, I guess. Man, 2006 was just a different time. To be clear, I do think that Twilight Princess is a beautiful game and has just a lot of merit as a work of art. However, it is a turning point in the way that people reacted to Zelda games, because from then on, this was the reaction. Skyward Sword released to thunderous acclaim before it wasn't anymore, and suddenly it's the shittest thing of all time. Why did Nintendo make me do a thing in the name of, like, immersion or whatever? Fuck you, Nintendo, doing things different. That's not to say that Skyward Sword didn't merit criticism, because it did. Its worlds were small and not very interesting or detailed for that matter. They scaled down and didn't gain anything from it. In fact, just lost. But the same thing happened with Breath of the Wild. The game was so well received. It was going to be the best thing ever. And then, as time went on, the game started to gain criticism. It was boring, it was empty, it was bland, and most importantly for today, it wasn't even a Zelda game. Tears of the Kingdom, however, is different. In some ways, it actually breaks that mold, as I've started to notice much more vocal criticism popping up already. That's not to say that people didn't criticize Skyward Sword or Breath of the Wild when they first came out, and of course, the vast majority of people love Tears of the Kingdom, but I have noticed that there's just something slightly different about this one. Much has already been said. Nintendo believed in their own propaganda they paid for back then in 2017. And this is why this game is what it is. And now, after they bought reviews for Tears of the Kingdom again, Aonuma promises more open world Zelda games. And all this knowing the open world formula was already dead in 2017, and Breath of the Wild was just boring walking simulator. Whether you call Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom spin-offs or DLC, fact is that we still don't have new Zelda since 2012. Therefore, let's hope some indie studio will eventually fill this void. After so many years and seeing what they're doing, there is no point waiting for Nintendo. They clearly became clowns. Just let them live their clown world. Oh no. Oh, I think that's a dog whistle. So the reaction to Tears of the Kingdom is slightly different. For one, there was so much praise. I mean, 10s out of 10s across the goddamn board. However, there was also some very weird reactions, to say the least. And more interesting claim is that it's a Ubisoft clone, specifically referring to like the open world Ubisoft games, you know, your Far Cry's, Watch Dogs, and of course Assassin's Creed. And I don't have a response for this one. Not because it's like true, but because it's such a wrong point that like you can't even talk about it. There's like no point of comparison here. The game just doesn't, it's just not a it just doesn't do Ubisoft. I've been racking my brain around how I can try and convince these people that it's nothing like a Ubisoft game. Have you played a Ubisoft game, guys? You can tell me if you haven't. I won't tell anyone. Ubisoft games are like kind of really cheaply produced, mass-produced too, just sent out year after year, and heavily monetized. These are just simply extremely different games from extremely different developers with extremely different design philosophies. I don't know what else to tell you about that one. And of course, the worst thing of all, what if gay? So, unfortunately, Zelda is now kind of wrapped up in a little bit of what I like to call culture war nonsense. I kind of weirdly assumed that this franchise was immune to it, because in all of its years of existence, it really hasn't ever gotten into anything like that. Until now. A little bit after the game's release, a Polygon article was released, which is never a good sign when there's gamer boys around. The article in question was talking about Link's status as a gay icon. You can probably already tell where this is going. The tweet in question read, "I'm gonna be blunt here. There is a difference between Zelda fans and Breath of the Wild fans. They are completely not the same. A Zelda fan can be a Breath of the Wild fan, but I've noticed most Breath of the Wild fans have almost never really touched, one word, a Zelda game prior." I don't really need to explain why this is bad and also extremely stupid, because, you know, everyone else has already done that before. I think it's a really good example of the stranger reaction to Tears of the Kingdom's huge success, because it's brought in a lot of new fans, which of course means some gatekeeping is going to take place. This also plays into the idea that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom aren't Zelda games, which is stupid. The other implication of this is that real Zelda fans know that Link is straight as an arrow and just slays cis pussy every day. Which, you know, isn't true? Question mark? Because, you know, that's not Link's character. That's not what he's supposed to be. He's only whatever you make of him. The character doesn't even show any interest in any characters at all, like in that way. Not to mention that Link is a collection of people and not just one, spanning across, like, thousands of years. Statistically speaking, I mean, one of them's gotta be gay. I saw that in the general reactions to this article, there were a lot of people talking about, like, erasing straight characters. Which, you know, he's not. Or maybe he is. It's up to you, man. This is literally a bunch of kind of weird gamer bros shoving a headcanon down someone's throat, which is very funny, probably only to me. Can you imagine just like a gamer boy making one of those headcanon images? How can a classic Zelda fan just like misinterpret the franchise so much to A, think that Breath of the Wild is somehow not a Zelda game, and B, just make something up about the character? Like, the article makes less of a claim than this guy does. In the article, it's just talking about how Link has been popular with queer audiences. That's it. Just that he's a popular character. Presumably for this exact reason, as he's someone that you're supposed to project onto. Nobody is, like, claiming anything about the guy, other than that, like, a lot of people like him. But you see, it's because, like everything these days, Zelda has gone woke. Synthetic Man is a YouTube channel that I've wanted to cover for, like, a long time. I have a scrapped video about the Resident Evil 4 remake and the reaction to it, which is actually quite similar to this one, where I go over just like all the weird shit that he does on his video on Crobcat. I might actually finalize that video if there is interest in it. It is kind of similar to this one, except a little bit more structured. Let me tell you that this review of Tears of the Kingdom is maybe one of the worst game reviews I have ever seen. Putting aside the weird shit we're gonna get into, just literally as a review, it is some of the whiniest bullshit I have ever heard. At some point, Synthetic Man claims that the game is too easy, and then goes on to complain that the game is too hard. I do genuinely mean that this is one of the worst reviews I have ever seen. And, you know, I've seen a lot of reviews. It's all I used to do back in the day. I didn't have any friends, but at least I had you, Pro Jared. Now, where shit gets just crazy is about like the middle part of the video. Like all of Synthetic Man's content, at least from what I've seen, it takes like a minute or two for him to just dive off the fucking deep end like he always does. To give this, what could be charitably described as a YouTuber some credit, he does acknowledge that he sounds like he's going on a schizo rant, which is kind of not a great way to frame it, but I mean, hard to disagree. He accuses Tears of the Kingdom of being woke. Not in the, like, normal sense of the word, but in, like, the weirdo sense of the word. You know, that way where everything is woke unless it does well, and then it's not. You know, like how the Mario movie was woke because Princess Peach wore pants for a little bit.
This is pissing me off.
Yeah.
Well, there's still
They're
more.
taking away the femininity of Peach.
Peach!
Yeah.
Princess Peach!
Yeah.
Give it her pants!
And therefore, all your kids are going to be non-binary lesbians. But then, the movie did really well, so now it's anti-woke, because it's about white people. This guy tries to claim that Tears of the Kingdom is woke, because of a few reasons. One, just like in Breath of the Wild, there are some Hylians who are black or brown. Oh no! I don't even know why this is even worth pointing out. This is a franchise in which there are, like, big fish people, and they can fuck the non-fish people and presumably have, like, kids with them and shit. Hyrule is a huge place with a huge variety of climates. Also, like, nothing about Hylians says that they have to be, like, white. That was never a thing. Hylians' only defining characteristic is the long ears. They're just another type of human in the Zelda franchise, along with humans, which are just the generic guys, and Gerudo, which he says some things about. One of his points is, I think, weren't the Gerudo enough for representation?
So despite the fact that the Gerudo are clearly supposed to be like the Middle Eastern inspired race, I guess you could say, but they might even be a different species than Hylians, I'm not sure. They could be like Asari and just take genetic material from Hylians to make more Gerudo, right? But no, now there's actually a lot of Hylians that are various shades of brown throughout the world.
You had to add more brown people? Please don't clip that. Please don't. Clip that, please. His big complaint is with the character of Sonya, who he won't even call a Hylian.
Queen was we'll say dark elf.
Because, you know, she has darker skin than he'd like. This is despite the fact that she is Hylian. I'll be honest with you, this video is racist. That's not me like being a big SJW lib, although I am. This video is racist, like, straight up. It just is. There's no, like, sugarcoating it. There's no coded language, even. There's no dog whistle. He just says some racist shit. He claims that Sonya flies in the face of Zelda lore, and also says this, which I'm not gonna say.
And of course, one of the founders of Hyrule set the stage for the entire series, created a wonderful Wakanda-esque utopia, is one of these brown Hylians. Almost literally, we was Kangs and shit.
Not a chance. So, as a former Zelda lore expert, until I had weed and smoked a sex, I can officially say that I really don't think that it does. Tears of the Kingdom doesn't do much retconning in the way that people have claimed. Really, the only major retcon it does is make all the fucking amiibo items like canon in the world, which has some just terrific implications. Hey, what is the Fierce Daisy armor doing here? How does that work, Nintendo? I promised myself I'd never get back into Zelda lore discourse. I'll have to regain my what the fuck? Why did I write that? Tears of the Kingdom is set so fucking far into the future from the Zelda franchise that we know that it doesn't really matter. They might be the founders, you know, the first royal family for the Kingdom of Hyrule. It's like a fairly high chance that it's not even the same Kingdom of Hyrule that we're thinking of, given just how different it actually is. However, that's not even the most, like, deranged fucking thing that he says, because now let's get into grooming allegations. Do you remember when that word meant something? You know? Before, like, that it just got fucking ruined? Tears of the Kingdom is grooming your kids into accepting homosexuality, because sages. Again, this is under a certain level of irony, but, like, at the same time, it's really hard to tell what he actually means and what he's just being an edgy asshole about. So take the next segment with a big grain of salt. In this section, right-wing lunatic synthetic man writes gay fanfiction about Tears of the Kingdom and then tries to pass it off as real. He is again shoving his headcanon down everyone's throats. He says that the vow from the sages is just like a proposal. Ah yes, I always propose to people via a fist bump. The claim being also that they're all male, so it's forcing you to accept polyamorous gay marriage. How does he account for Riju? Well, he's seen some porn online, and in those images, the Gerudo had dicks, and therefore they're basically male, because of course.
And Riju's a Gerudo, and if you've seen any of their Rule 34, you know they're usually sporting a little something extra.
Also, by the way, Gorons don't, like, have a gender. That's why they're allowed in Gerudo Town. They don't have anything, you know, because they're a boulder. So this kind of gay marriage thing is kind of falling apart because only 2 of the 5 sages. Only 2 of the 5 sages are guys. Zooey mama. Well, synthetic man, was it grooming your kids into accepting the trans ideology when Zelda became chic? Is the existence of the gay clowns from Twilight Princess going to make your kids also gay clowns? No, This is just needless contrarianism and edginess. So, Synthetic Man made a follow-up video, and I might watch it, and I might not, because I kinda can't stand him. So, as I said, take this whole segment with a grain of salt, because maybe he clarifies something. So it's the morning of the next day, and yeah, I watched the video. I said that I wouldn't, and then I did anyway, because I have no self-control. I think this might be a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I don't even know what to say.
Yet no doubt some Twitter idiots would say it's a conspiracy theory. It certainly is not too outlandish to say that a company could receive compensation for promoting certain things that those people want promoted. Now, obviously I have no proof that free or any other groups I probably am not even allowed to say on YouTube. It's the fact that I'm being attacked for noticing things that really justifies my beliefs. And the funny thing is, I'm not even religious. I've said this a few times already. I'm agnostic. I have been since I was like 12 years old. Seeing the world fall apart in real time and seeing how dumb people were with the reaction to COVID. But it looks like Christians are being proven right with each passing day. I am not the Zoomer version of Jack Thompson who wants to make leftist propaganda illegal or something. No, I want it to die out naturally by nobody buying the products. The problem is, certain shadowy groups of people have amassed so much money that they can fund games that sell 0 copies. And what's the next one? Man, go back to 2016. The amount of times I've heard a variation of this comment over the last few years. Do leftists think right-wing people just disappeared after the 2020 election or something? This has never made any sense to me. This is what happens when you spend all day in an echo chamber. You seem to think that your delusional, extremist, communist Discord server is a reflection of real life. These people are the perfect cattle because they believe everything that government and corporations tell them. They're probably vaxxed and triple boosted and wearing masks in their car to this day. Why do you think right-wing people just left the planet? Do you really think that all normies are now radical socialists or some shit? Wouldn't there be rioting every day in the streets in every city? At every moment, buildings would be burning as they're trying to take down the corporations, except Disney, except Nintendo, except any corporation that agrees with my politics, which just means they put an LGBT flag on their Twitter. Now, I just want to remind you, even if you think 1 or 2 of these are good digs, these are the type of people that think it is completely normal and rational to chop your dick off and wear a dress. I don't even give a shit about Lolly. I think it's just drawings. Well, despite what you might think of me, I did know multiple people who had sex in middle school and high school, and they weren't lying, dude. I don't think any of these people understand the nature of debate. The whole point of it is to convince a third neutral party to your side. These are a bunch of lunatics all talking to each other. The type of people who will call you an incel when they themselves have never had sex. This is why we need to bring back asylums, unironically, and I don't care if these people are abused because they deserve it. You're really telling me these people should have the right to vote? The type of people who are quite literally not a part of society. They probably don't even pay taxes. Not that I think anybody should. These are the type of people who are getting paid disabilities they don't even fucking have, like autism. I guarantee they're not even autistic. They don't even know what a definition is, because all their words have multiple definitions. Doublespeak, right? They don't even like our current president, but because they have to vote blue no matter who, they'll defend their ideology to their death anyway. And why is that? Because they're all fucking depressed. For as much as they'll tell you to seek therapy, none of them are happy. The men are virgins, and the women have been single for years, especially all the ones over 30. See, I'm not entirely sure why I even made this video.
Old thing good, new thing bad? I think that is something that is clouding judgment around Tears of the Kingdom as new thing. What? Fuck that. I want the old thing because I am blinded by nostalgia. When I saw some responses to the original gay tweet, before he started ranting about twink porn. I saw some people justifiably trying to dunk on the guy, but doing it in a way that really bothered me. Saying how Tears of the Kingdom was just so much better than the old games, and that the old games are obsolete because we have the new one. And it sucks that when trying to dunk on a stupid guy, we've ended up catching some of my favourite works of art in the crossfire. So maybe let me make a proposal via a fist bump. Oh, but seriously, if you're a new Zelda fan, or not even really one yet, then I encourage you to come along with me. On the channel, I will be doing a series looking at the Zelda games in no particular order, just whatever one I find interesting at the time, and doing a super long recap and analysis so that it is accessible for new and old fans alike. I want to get more people involved in these old games because I think that they're simply fantastic, and it sucks that a lot of them are quite inaccessible. Not just hardware-wise, although that is a huge problem, but a lot of them are admittedly kind of old and clunky, and therefore the artistry behind them has been almost lost to time. I currently have a video in the works about Ocarina of Time, and it's one of my favourite things that I've ever written, and I'm so happy to share that with you. So I hope you'll tune in, and I hate to do this, but I have to do the YouTuber thing because I haven't done it before. So apparently this works. The thing that I'd recommend you do the most is share the video. You should also do the other things that they ask you to do. Sorry, it feels like my soul is being ripped apart. You should also do the other things that they always tell you to do, like sex that bell up and do something to the subscribe button. I don't know what YouTube is. It is midnight because I've had to re-record this video several times and it's a bit of a mess. I wanted to try something new, and this might not have been the way to do it. And also, just for the record, Link can be gay as hell if you want him to be. Try not to pee your pants this week. It's never a good thing. Unless you really want to. And then go off, queen. I've been Kai from Kai's Home for Aspiring Vampires. I was supposed to say that earlier.